Hello, this is Bwana from Bwana.tv, and today we're going to be reviewing the OnePlus One. The OnePlus One is a fairly new offering of a Android device, which includes CyanogenMod 11s. And this is a first of its kind because most other Android devices included either the company's homegrown version of Android or stock Android. So CyanogenMod is very popular in the Android community. And for a company to take that particular version or flavor of Android and put it around its own custom hardware was something that a lot of people were looking forward to. Sadly, OnePlus is only an invite-only phone, and it's kind of the first of its kind. I've never heard of a smartphone that was invite-only for consumers. The good thing is that this coming October 27th, it will be available for pre-order for everyone for a 1 hour period. And the reason for this is because they are not a big giant company, and the supply that they have is not ginormous. So that's why they had this gradual growth of invites that they've been sending out to additional people. And on top of that, they have this small order period for an hour. Now, the good news is that you can go to the website right now and pre-order it and add it to your cart, and you will be able to check out during that 1 hour period on October 27th. So I'm going to talk about the OnePlus today. We're going to be reviewing it, talking about several aspects of it, including the packaging, including my experiences with the phone, the specs of the phone, the overall appeal of it, and some comparisons with some of the other phones out there, and why I think you should buy it, and some pluses and minuses with the phone as well. Pluses and minuses, that's a joke. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know in the comments if you have any concerns or any kind of corrections. Okay, guys, now I'm going to talk about the initial packaging that the OnePlus arrives in. So when you order this, they send it to you in this packaging. It is a very snug fit. It looks like a kind of an envelope packaging, and it's got, pretty much a cardboard type of a feel. And I guess you got a message about something. And yeah, you just unlock it here. You just pull the thing back and it slides back like that. You open it up and you'll be presented with a SIM card holder and a little plastic thingy. And you'll be presented with a OnePlus kind of a welcome screen. Welcome message. I think they get this from kind of like from Apple. I've seen a lot of companies change their packaging up ever since you've seen a ton of Apple unboxings. And so I will pull this little tab here with one hand, and it pulls out this white box. After I move this out of the way, Woo! I pull out this the tab there, and it's got a really nice packaging, guys. It's got like a slide box interface that you can pretty much just slide the contents out slowly. Slowly. I said slowly. All right, here it comes. Now it's out of the box. So you got the slide portion out. This is the see, this is live, man. This is live stuff. You got the white portion off, and now you go. This is the part that tripped me up. The One logo looks like that, but when you open it up, it's like that. So this is the actual phone. Actually, a really good phone in terms of packaging. That's all you see is this particular thing. And if I were to take this up, I'm going to actually move this up a little bit so you can see what's underneath. You'll see that underneath there is a SIM card removal thing, and there's the actual USB cable. It comes with a plug as well, which you don't see here, but it is underneath. Actually, it's a separate thing in the box, which I don't have here. In this unboxing, it's in my wife's office. But as you can see here, it is a very tight fit, very nice and neat casing, very professional, and highly kudos. A lot of kudos, and highly recommend that if you do an unboxing, that you point this stuff out, because it's actually pretty good. So that is the packaging. Very simple, not a lot of contents in it, not a lot of not a lot of complexity. They're keeping it very simple, much like Apple does with their unboxings. And I'm just being very careful putting this back in here. See, really simple, really good packaging. I gotta say, guys, kudos to the OnePlus guys for hooking us up with this cool packaging. So 64 gigabyte sandstone black. This is what the packaging looks like. White box with just a few things in it. And again, the power brick comes separately in another part of the packaging, which I don't have here. It's like a separate thing that came in there. It came in this box, but that box was in something else. So that's the packaging. Okay, guys, now we're going to talk about the specifications of the OnePlus One. Comes in two colors, silk white, sandstone black. It's a pretty big phone. Has a 5.5-inch display. And that's the new thing that's going around now. The iPhone 6, the new Nexus. Everybody's coming out with these big screen sizes now. 1080p Full HD, 1920 by 1080, 401 ppi. It's got an LTPS IPS or TOL type screen and Corning Gorilla Glass 3. 13 megapixel camera with a really good feature software wise, which allows you to take raw photos. Video, 4K resolution video with stereo recording, slow motion, and you can get 720p 120 fps video out of this thing. Has 3 gigabytes of LPDDR3 RAM, clocked at 1866 megahertz. It's got a Adreno 330 GPU, 16 or 64 gigabytes of storage. I have the 64 gigabyte one. It's got a 3100 rated battery. Really good. GSM, WCDMA, LTE bands are supported, along with the standard Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NFC bands. So it's pretty impressive. It's got a lot of cool things. Comes with a USB cable. Supports a lot of different media playbacks that are available out there today, including MP3, AAC, WAV, MP4, and FLV 720p. Image support, JPEG, RAW, PNG, GIF, and bitmap. So those are the specifications. You can check these out. Go to OnePlus.net, and you can go to the specifications tab to see all the beautiful numbers associated with this phone. All right, guys, now I'm going to talk about my experience with the OnePlus One in terms of different things that I felt were important to me. The major thing and the major hurdle that prevented me from diving into this type of phone initially was the screen size, because I come from a phone the size of an iPhone 4. If you look at this screen right here, it is much smaller than the OnePlus One. It is very tiny. I mean, I hold it now and I'm like, I don't know how in the world I used this thing back then, and I thought the screen size was actually big enough. You really don't notice until you go to a bigger screen. And the thing that helped me is that my next phone after I got off my iPhone 4 was a HTC One M7. This one's a little bit bigger than the iPhone, so the transition was actually pretty good to go to the 5.5-inch screen. So in terms of screen size, it took me a little bit to get adjusted to it, mainly with one-handed use, because coming from an iPhone, this size here is downright perfect for one-handed use. That was one of the big things I liked about the iPhone. One-handed use, one-handed typing, really easy. As the screens get bigger, that kind of goes away. You kind of get reliant on using two hands, so which is a transition. It's not necessarily a negative. It's just a way of doing things. So the screen size is actually pretty good. I got used to it. It's beautiful, looks good. 1080p screen, can't argue with that. Now let's talk about speed. In terms of speed responsiveness with the screen, the tap to screen responsiveness is actually really good. Over the years, it's kind of improving with Android. As we get better screens, as we get better hardware, better processors. Initially, I had a pretty bad first impression with screen responsiveness with Android. Notably, or pretty much compared to the iPhone, which I think is still number one. I think it's still number one with touchscreen responsiveness, but it is much better in terms of how, when you tap things and how you move things and the response time with that. Now this, I didn't talk about this before, but initial releases of the OnePlus in terms of the ROM and the hardware, there were some screen ghosting issues. People would tap and drag and it wouldn't respond. But the latest release of CyanogenMod has addressed a lot of that, and I don't see any of those problems. I will admit, when I first got the phone, very first time I got the phone, I was on the previous build of Cyanogen, and I did experience some ghosting. Like, I'd try to scroll up and it wouldn't register, and it'd actually tap on something. Not a good thing if you're on a website and the thing your finger was over was an ad. Oh goodness, you accidentally tapped on an ad. If it's a Google ad, it's going to follow you forever for the rest of your life. You're going to be forever tied to carpet. Lovely, lovely carpet. All right. So speed wise, screen responsiveness is really good. Now let's talk about the actual speed of processor. The processor and the RAM speed are the fastest I've ever used. It is the fastest phone I've owned so far. I don't own an iPhone 6, so I can't compare it to that. I know people are going to ask about that. Obviously, I don't own a Nexus, new Nexus that recently got announced by Google, so I can't talk about that. I can talk about comparing it to the HTC, the iPhones that I've used. I have used iPhone 5s. They weren't mine, but I have used them. It is fast. It is the fastest phone that I've used. Speed is not a problem. Speed is actually very, very impressive. The major apps that I noticed the speed on are things like YouTube and Twitch. Like the Twitch app is very, very responsive in terms of loading video. And it is really, really fast, really, really responsive. And as you can see here, it loads up things like immediately. I got a fast network, I got to say. But it is very, 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 very good. So with that said, the speed is acceptable. So if speed is your hurdle, something you look forward to, something you want to invest in, this phone has it in spades. Next up on my user experience, Bwana user experience, yeah, that's me, is the battery life. The battery life has been a mixed bag. Initially, when I got the phone, I thought the battery life was not as good as I thought it could be. And I was kind of concerned. I was like, well, one of the reasons why I got this phone, or I upgraded from my HTC, was that the HTC M7 had terrible battery life compared to other phones out there. The M8 HTC One actually improved the battery life tremendously. So I found out about this thing called Privacy Guard, and also some other things that CyanogenMod allows you to do. One thing that was happening, and if you're using a OnePlus, I recommend you do this, is that the Google Play services will constantly request to wake up your phone, or to access location, or to access a bunch of things. It just constantly requests these things. The beauty of Privacy Guard, its feature of Cyanogen, is that you can say no. Don't do that anymore. Stop it. Stop it. So basically, you go into Privacy Guard. Here should be. Oh, I tapped the wrong thing here. You go into Privacy Guard. And I'll show you the setting really quick. If I can go to privacy. Go to Privacy Guard, right? And find the app called, I think it's called Google Play Services. This is the main culprit. You can do this for anything. I actually have to go to advanced to show this. It's called Google Play Services, and you can do this for any app, but this is the main guy, and you can see how many times it requests things. But you go down here and you find the setting called, there's a wake up I have denied, keep awake. Look at that number there. It says it was denied 12,632 times. Making this one change easily gave me an additional hour or even 2 hours of battery life. Major change. So once I did that, all my battery life concerns were null and void. Essentially, I was getting a full day of usage, of heavy usage, but I was looking for a little bit more. And when I say full day, it was like by the time I was thinking about going to bed, the phone was dead. It wasn't almost dead, it was dead. So I was concerned because that's how my HTC One was. It was like it would be dead by the end of the day. So now I can go through a full day, wake up the next morning, and then the phone will have like maybe 10 to 12% left, and I'll charge it the next morning. That to me is acceptable, especially, you know, when you get a new phone, it's going to have a lot of heavy usage. You're going to be doing a lot of things with it, especially with CyanogenMod. You're going to be customizing it constantly. And it was definitely one of those things that made the difference for battery life for me. And the battery life is much, much better now. And the good news is that I can tweak it even further if I want to, because I have those options. So I can probably get a lot more life out of it if I want to. All right, so that's the battery life. Highly acceptable. if you make that one tweak in Privacy Guard. Okay, now I'm going to talk about my user experience and overall appeal of the phone. One thing that Apple has been known to do well with their series of phones is that they're able to combine their hardware and software offerings into a cohesive experience for the end user. This allows people to not only become attached to the hardware of the phone, but the actual ecosystem of the phone, and that's a selling point. That's an upsell for Apple. That means they'll buy more stuff on iTunes App Store. That means they'll probably maybe even buy Macs or get an iPad to go along with that phone. So, user experience when it comes to this phone, I gotta say, from an Android perspective, I'm gonna first talk about Android. From an Android perspective, I was highly surprised as to how polished and how user-friendly CyanogenMod has become. In the past, CyanogenMod was a geek fest. It was a geek tool. It had all the bells and whistles. You can go nuts with customization, but to me, it wasn't very user-friendly. A lot of things were not obvious. A lot of things were actually difficult to do versus stock Android. It's pretty much not the case. And my comparisons to CyanogenMod have been from the early days, like when it was very, very young, and it wasn't as big as it is today. You can tell that the folks behind the OnePlus and this particular ROM that I'm using, that they ship with, has gotten a lot of love. It is downright beautiful. It is downright beautiful. And it almost doesn't feel like you're using an Android device sometimes. Just like, oh man, I can do this, I can do that. This is easily customizable. I just have to drag this away. Some things are a lot easier to do on CyanogenMod than they are on stock Android. And I've used stock Android on the Nexus device, and I have an HTC flavor on my HTC One. I had a previous, I think, a Nexus 4, Nexus 3, one of those previous Nexuses with stock Android. It's come so far. And it's only going to get better in terms of, end user appeal and usability once Lollipop and all these new revisions of Android come out. But overall, I was highly impressed, not only with the software but the combination of the software and the hardware. It didn't feel tacked on. It didn't feel like it was just like thrown together. It didn't like, oh, let's just make a phone and throw Cyanogen on and sell it, call it the OnePlus. Nah, they put some thought into this design, the user experience. And someone who's brand new to phones, someone who's even coming from an iPhone, I've used iPhone for years, you're going to find that this experience with the OnePlus is going to be probably the closest thing you're going to get to the iPhone experience. And that's saying a lot, because Samsung has their own thing. LG has their own thing. Google's got their stock experience and vanilla with the Nexus. This is the closest I think I can get personally. And I think it's the closest you're going to get to an iPhone experience on an Android phone. The beauty of that is that not only are you going to get that experience, but you have the option to go dig deep and customize it even further. Best of both worlds is the best way I can describe it. I should call this video the best of both worlds, because you got the geeky side, but at the same time, you got a beautiful user experience. So the overall appeal is that I'm highly impressed. This thing has reawakened my love for smartphones. I stopped caring about apps. I stopped caring about customizing my phones like years ago. You guys probably know this. I haven't did any videos on that stuff. This rekindled it. This is a good phone, and I highly recommend that if you can't get one, that you at least try to use one and see the things that we're trying to see to show you here with this phone. So that's my overall appeal. I'm gushing. I am not getting paid for this, but it is a beautiful experience. Okay, now we're going to talk about accessories, and I'm going to talk about two major accessories that I use, which I think are kind of essential to the OnePlus. I'm going to actually use my camera phone to show you. First thing is going to be the Orsley Premium Tempered Glass. This is a type of screen protector that is definitely superior to your standard film screen protectors. This is definitely important for the OnePlus. It's made for the OnePlus, but it is important for the OnePlus because the OnePlus's screen, it may be kind of a deterrent for some people, but the OnePlus's screen is very sensitive, and if it cracks or it has any kind of imperfections or any type of chips, it has been known to make the entire screen inoperable, and that's not like the other types of screens that are out there, like the iPhone screen and the Nexus screen that's coming out, and even the HTC. If those crack, they tend to still work. However, the OnePlus is a little bit more sensitive, and you definitely need a good screen protector to ensure that you don't accidentally crack your screen. Like, oh, Bwana, I've never cracked any of the 600 phones that I've owned. This will be the one you crack. So definitely get the Orsley premium tempered glass. This thing is available for $15 on Amazon. The next thing I want to show you is the Tudia case. This is the Tudia case. This is a kind of a it has kind of a soft back, kind of like the Sandstone a little bit, but it's not as smooth and velvety as the case is. I wish I could show you the case, but I'm actually filming this with my phone, so let me actually show you the case on the other camera. Hopefully it'll come through. Hold on. All right. So the case here, you can see it kind of has a soft back, soft touch to it. It has this top part here, which is a smooth, and it has a bottom part here that's kind of smooth as well. It fits very well into the phone. Has a really snug fit. The edges is something that I'm usually concerned with these types of phones. The edges are a little bit in the way. Like if you want to drag an icon from one screen to the next and you have to hit the edge, sometimes with this case your finger will hit the actual case and it will actually prevent you from doing it. So you have to push the case over a little bit. That's like the only ding against this case that I have. But with that said, this is a $6 case. $6, $6 US. And for that price, I think I can deal with that little bit of a drawback. Now you may find some other cases out there that are better for the OnePlus, but for me, I'm not very, very picky when it comes to cases. And again, this comes in, this is on Amazon for $6. It comes in multiple colors. I think the one color I don't have is red. I think they have a red one, but I got black, I got a turquoise one, or a cyanish color one, and I got a purple one. My wife couldn't decide on the color for hers, so we got two since they were so cheap, and I just went with the black one. So that is the accessories I recommend. Again, the premium tempered glass from Orsley. Also, the two cases from Tudia light cases that are available on Amazon for $6. So one of the things, if you're considering the OnePlus One as your next smartphone, is that you're going to probably compare it to some of the similar offers that are out there. Most notably, the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, I should say, and the new Nexus 6, which was recently announced by Google. There's been a lot of heat and just some hot topics regarding it. A lot of internal Android wars going on with this stuff. But with that said, overall, I would say that the OnePlus holds its own against these two phones. Now, there are some slight differences, some slight advantages and disadvantages, but I think overall, the OnePlus holds its own as being a serious competitor, and in some cases even better than these new phones which were announced, even though the OnePlus is older. Let's go through them one by one. The Nexus 6, the biggest thing, the biggest comparison and the biggest advantage I think the Nexus has over the OnePlus is the screen. Not only the screen quality, because it's going to be a better quality screen, it's going to be a higher resolution screen, and it's going to be a bigger size screen. So if screen size is your big deal, this thing has a 5.96 inch screen, 2560 by 1440 QHD screen, AMOLED display, 493 PPI. Compared to the OnePlus One, which is a little bit worse, 401 PPI and 1920 by 1080, and it's got probably I'm not gonna say a weaker technology, but just a more older technology screen. So the Nexus, you're going to be getting the latest and greatest and a much higher resolution. So that's a trade-off. Also, another thing between the Nexus and the OnePlus I want to point out is the camera. The Nexus has a 13 megapixel camera on the back, just like the OnePlus, but it only has a 2 megapixel front camera, whereas the OnePlus has a 5 megapixel front camera. So I don't usually compare megapixels because in the long run, in picture quality, and when it comes down to it, it doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of quality. I mean, you can get more pixels in. It's more about just the lens quality and the sensor quality. But with that said, I wish I could show you guys a sample image of the OnePlus, but the image quality of the camera on the OnePlus is ridiculously good. They recently added the support of RAW images, and if you just go to Google and search for some of these sample images, you'll see what I'm talking about. The camera quality on the OnePlus is very, very good. So you won't be losing a whole lot of quality with these cameras. Now, that doesn't speak to the front-facing camera, which has more megapixels than the Nexus, but just know that the back camera on the OnePlus is definitely something that's special. Battery life is another thing that is a trade-off with the Nexus and the OnePlus. The OnePlus is currently rated at a 31. Let's get the exact number here, because that's why I have these sites up. People will unsubscribe to your YouTube channels. They will hate you forever if you get a number wrong on this stuff. The battery is a 3100 milliampere hours battery. The Nexus is a 3220, so it's a higher rating. But when you consider that the Nexus has a bigger screen, a better screen, and a higher resolution screen, there's a possibility, now it's not proven, there's a possibility that that might be a trade-off in battery life compared to the OnePlus. So I think a safe assumption, if you're shopping for both of these, is that the battery life is equal between the Nexus and the OnePlus, because it may have a higher rated battery, but that screen may offset it just a bit. So those are the main comparisons with the Nexus that I want to talk about. The processors are about the same, if not better, on the Nexus. The sizes are about the same in terms of storage, 32 and 64 gigabytes. Let's talk about the Apple iPhone 6 now. When comparing the Apple to the OnePlus, again, the screen size of the OnePlus is 5.5 inch. The Apple screen size is 6.22 inches. But that is including this bezel that is in this particular screen here. And the Apple's bezel is a little bit, I think it's a little bit bigger than the OnePlus bezel. The OnePlus does have a bezel at top and bottom, but I think it has more visible screen than the iPhone 6. This is kind of an educated guess on my part, just comparing them. I wouldn't say apples to apples. I love to apples, but the iPhone 6 Plus is what I'm comparing it to, not the 6. And the thickness. Now, Apple's really big about their thickness, and I didn't talk about this with the Nexus. It's not really a big point with the Nexus. The Apple iPhone 6 Plus is 7.1 millimeters thick, and the OnePlus is 8.9 millimeters thick. So the OnePlus is substantially thicker. When you're talking about thickness now, millimeters are kind of a big deal. They may not sound like a big difference, but that's a full millimeter and then some thicker. So Apple prides itself on being very, very thin and light. This is 172 grams in weight, and this is 162 grams in weight. iPhone 6 Plus is actually heavier in this case. And I can tell by using this phone, it is actually pretty light. It has some really lightweight materials. You might call them cheap, but I don't think it feels cheap. It feels very robust and solid in my hand. So the Apple iPhone 6 is a little bit heavier. The Nexus, I think I lost my specs here. The Nexus, if we go down to the spec sheets, the weight of the Nexus, it should be listed here. They don't have the weight listed. That's probably why I didn't talk about it. But I recall it being about 184 grams. 184 grams versus 172 versus 162. So the Nexus is the heaviest of the three. So if weight is a factor, you got to consider that. Overall, I think the OnePlus sits well in all these categories that I talked about, guys. This phone definitely compares to the latest offerings from Nexus 6. I say from Nexus 6, it's Google. But from the Google Nexus 6 and the Apple iPhone 6. And it comes in at, wait for it, $350 for the 64 gigabyte Sandstone Black, which you're probably going to get in terms of invites. This is the more common phone right here. $349. The Nexus 6, in terms of price, is higher. I don't think they have it on this site, but from my from what I recall, let's just go to iPhone before I get into that. The iPhone 6 Plus, if I choose an iPhone 6 Plus, it starts from $299, but that is on contract. The OnePlus phone is an unlocked phone, which works on T-Mobile and AT&T in the U.S. You gotta get this thing on contract. You can get it for $299 on contract, $749 contract free. For 64 gigabyte, it goes up. It's $399. The Nexus 6 comes in at $399 for the tablet, $479 for the 32 gigabyte tablet, but the phone itself, $649 for the 32 gigabyte and $699 for the 64 gigabyte. So you're looking at $700. That's twice the price of the OnePlus. So if you're comparing the OnePlus to the Nexus 6 and the iPhone, you got to consider contracts. You got to consider how much it costs to be unlocked, because the OnePlus is unlocked when you buy it, and you got to consider those differences that I talked about. So if you look at it from a price versus a performance versus a feature type of a deal, I think this humble guy's opinion that the OnePlus is an enormous value. An enormous value. And I'm comparing to the latest and greatest because I think right now, if I didn't compare to these, I think the OnePlus blows away anything else prior to those other phones. But that's what you have, guys. That's what you have there, guys. A comparison to the iPhone 6 and the Nexus with the OnePlus One. All right, now I'm going to talk about why you should buy OnePlus and what's the value in the phone. I've already discussed the price. This is a $350 smartphone that has some of the guts and the feature set and the user experience of $700 phones, and Apple's like $400 to $750, whether you get it unlocked or not. So there's a price difference that justifies looking at the phone initially. And obviously, when you look at a phone from a price only perspective, it's natural for us as humans to say, well, there's probably a trade-off. Probably some quality trade-off, probably not as seamless. There's going to be some things that are going to suck about it, and you're probably right. Let's talk about some of the negatives first off. Some of the negatives of this phone, again, is the screen. The screen, while it is a good quality screen, it looks great, it is fairly fragile. If you crack the screen, you're probably going to have to replace the entire phone or replace the entire screen. It's not one of those types of screens that when cracked or chipped, that can continue to work. That's why I highly recommend it that you get a tempered glass protector and a case to protect your screen as much as possible. That to me is probably one of the biggest trade-offs. The screen kind of had some bumpy starts because there was a lot of ghosting that was going on a lot. When you tap on something, it didn't actually register all the time. And there were some little technical problems with it. The latest revision of CyanogenMod made a lot of improvements to that, and it's all but gone. I don't have any issues with that anymore. When I first got the phone, I had a lot of ghosting problems. I tried to tap and scroll down, scroll to the left, scroll to the right. It just wouldn't register. Now it's a much better experience, so you don't have to worry about that being a problem unless they revert or regress. I don't think they will. So the screen, probably the worst part of the phone. Screen quality, however, is absolutely astounding, and it is probably one of the good parts of the phone, which leads me to the battery life. The battery life is highly volatile. When I first got the phone, I wasn't getting the battery life that I wanted out of it, and after tweaking some settings, which may not be something you would want to do, this is something you might want to consider. After tweaking some settings, I got it to where I wanted it. Now, the beauty of having the CyanogenMod custom ROM is that you have a wealth of options to configure. There's a thing called Privacy Guard. I showed it earlier, which allows you to go on an application by application or service by service basis and control what it does, control what data it sends, whether it requests location, whether it wakes up the phone automatically, whether it sends data somewhere. You can deny at the application level. Probably one of the biggest selling points of CyanogenMod, especially if you're concerned about your privacy and your data. You can deny applications to do any of that stuff. So by denying like the Google Play Services app on the phone from waking up the phone and doing a lot of stuff in the background, that saved me a ton of battery life because it was doing it like a lot. I don't know if that's a bug in Android or the Google Play thing, but turning that off really helped. And that leads me to my next point. CyanogenMod coupled with this hardware gives you an experience that I don't think I've seen before because it gives you the best of both worlds. Number one, you've got a pretty cohesive experience from a user perspective that rivals Apple. I mean, a lot of people hate Apple. Oh, Apple sucks, blah, blah, blah. But Apple knows how to give you a user experience. They give you a canned, tightly controlled user experience that usually rubs some people the wrong way. And I'll tell you why it rubs them the wrong way. While their experience is really elegant and controlled and nice, you have lesser control over the phone. You have lesser control over customizing things. What this CyanogenMod and this OnePlus hardware gives you is that user experience that Apple can give you, that Apple-like experience. But at the same time, you have the option of going underneath the hood and customizing this phone to your heart's content. CyanogenMod gives you more customization options than standard Android. And standard Android customization is not terrible. It's not bad at all. It's actually more robust than Apple's customization options. But Cyanogen takes it a step further. So you got the best of both worlds. You got a really cohesive user experience, and you got the ability to go under the hood and put a turbocharged engine if you want. That kind of deal. That's a selling point of this phone. That's what makes it special, because it takes the CyanogenMod name, says, hey, we got this great custom ROM that the community has developed. We're going to put some hardware married to that particular ROM, and we're going to sell it to you guys for $350. We're limited in supply, but we're going to have an invite system, which rubs some people the wrong way that there's an invite-only system. But thankfully, on October 27th, there's going to be a 1-hour period, and I'll put the link in the show description. There's going to be a 1-hour period where anybody can pre-order the phone. There's not going to be an invite for that 1-hour period, so I'll let you guys know about that. That's October 27th. Today is the 25th. Hopefully, I'll get the video up by before that happens. Otherwise, it'll be kind of a moot point. So why buy it? For the user experience, the best of both worlds. You've got great hardware with the cheapest price. I don't know how else to sell it. I mean, that is the issue. And the trade-offs, again, are the screen and the battery life, both of which have been mitigated by something. The screen was mitigated by a CyanogenMod update with the touch ghosting that was going on. And the battery life was mitigated by me to customize the phone to do less while I'm not using it. There's also some other things I haven't even done yet that can improve the battery life even more. But again, that goes down that path of like deep geek customizations. Now, if you're in the market for that user experience, but you don't want to tinker, you know, that battery life thing may be an issue because you kind of got to tinker to get the battery life right. At least I did. You have the option to do it, but some people don't want to bother with that. They're just like, just give me a phone. I don't want to have to worry about that. I just want to use the phone. So it is a great phone, guys, and I highly recommend it. And I was talking about this earlier. It has rekindled my interest into smartphones. I really didn't care anymore about this stuff. I wasn't using apps. I was using like 1 or 2 apps, and I wasn't customizing my phone. I wasn't theming my phone up like I'm doing now. I'm like changing themes every week and doing a bunch of stuff. Even though I had this ability to do it before, but I think that experience kind of made it a better proposition for me. So I'm going to be putting up more videos. I have my system set up to do screen capture. I don't have the camera setup I used to have with the iPhone and stuff, but I'm going to be doing more videos. I think the next video I want to do is kind of a recommended apps that I have and widgets that I found to be the best for what I need to do. So that's my conclusion on, you know, why you should buy the phone. Now you can take that, go back and look at my comparisons with the other phones and see if it works for you. If not, I totally understand. So I hope this helped you all make your decision on whether you're going to get the OnePlus or not. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed my review of the OnePlus One. Again, this is a 64GB phone available for $350. You can get it. You can get it. Everybody can get it. On October 27th, there's going to be a 1-hour period where you can pre-order the phone for $350. I'll put the link in the show description. And hopefully all the talking points that I have will help you make a decision. and look for more content regarding this phone in the future. All right, guys, this is Bwana from Bwana.tv. I'm signing off. Enjoy your smartphone, whatever it may be, but I highly recommend the OnePlus.